All right, and welcome back here to the AM Drive here on this Monday after the Super Bowl. It is Valentine's Day as well, so make sure that you have the right cable package so that you and your honey can binge watch all the great shows. And how do you do that, Mike? You got to get Sling TV. It's very simple. You go to mikeandaaarondrive.com and click that Sling logo. So if you, like us, we're looking to ditch those expensive cable packages with hundreds of channels you're never going to use, you can sign up for that free trial today. Once again, mikeandaaarondrive.com. Click that Sling logo. 30 plus channel packages starting at $35 a month. No long-term contracts. Make that smart choice and join Sling today.
Slingers. All right. Well, the Rams won Super Bowl 56, 23-20 over the Bengals. I thought overall this was a great game. You thought the Rams were going to get there early, but I was texting you like, man, this run game's got to get going eventually. And man, they let the Bengals right back in it. There were some missed calls. There was like, you see a play where Aaron Donald shoved Joe Burrow out of bounds. The guy came over and just choked him, and like there was no call.
Yeah, I loved Aaron Donald just taking out his frustration on Joe Burrow on that play. Like he wasn't frustrated at Joe Burrow. I think he was frustrated at the stale nature of the Rams offense. It was an interesting game because there were large pockets of the game where you were just bored. Like I mean, I'm sorry. Like I was with a group of people midway through the third. We're talking about like, oh god, Sean McVay should retire. Maybe you got 2 Super Bowls and all you can muster up is 19 points. Like this is, you got your Ferrari and it was bad, and Stafford was throwing the second interception, the one to open up the second half. I think it was Skoronek that it tipped off of. Like Skoronek was bad. Yeah, he was bad. But
we'll get to the Odell injury and why that guy had to come in. But
ultimately, I think that it just became a real classic Super Bowl. There's obviously controversy, which everybody's going to get to. We're going to get to as well. Like, but ultimately, I will say this. Like, I know we'll talk about the betting. I had a lot. Now, this shouldn't excuse me because ultimately I thought the Rams would run away with this, and they should have. There was a lot of stalled drives in the third quarter that I thought, good Lord, what are we doing here?
I agree.
But that missed extra point attempt really cost me a lot of money. I had pushes. I would have had a lot of pushes that saved me, obviously saved me some money. And the only thing that really came in for me were the teasers. But that missed extra point try that Johnny Hecker, the ball fell out of his hands.
That was brutal.
I've never been so mad that I didn't get a push before. It's quite unfortunate to have that happen. But the game might have played out differently if the Rams went into that last drive down by 3 instead of down by 4.
Very true. And I told people that we were going to sweat the under here of under 48.5. And if that drive had ended in a field goal, or the Bengals driving in a field goal or a touchdown, then what happens? The over is now going to hit because the field goal, you still have to make a field goal in overtime. Unless there's a safety in overtime, you've got 49. So Rams had to stop them for the under to hit, and they stopped them. Aaron Donald, wow, what a final drive for him. I know we're going to the Cooper Kupp thing, but Aaron Donald yanked the guy back after a brutal miscommunication between Burrow and Chase.
Mm-hmm.
And then Donald just gets to Joe Burrow. It was insane.
Yeah, Donald had quite the day. He had 2 sacks. He almost had the third one on that last play. Burrow got rid of the ball. But Aaron Donald, it took a minute for him to really get into this game. And I think he showed why his dominance is just played out throughout the course of the game. Because early, Von Miller was able to get sacks. Leonard Floyd was able to get in. And I said that Von Miller and these guys might have MVP possibilities because if you look at Donald, he was getting double and triple teamed.
Right.
In a lot of the replays that they were showing. And it was just like, it didn't matter. As the game wore down, the game script, full disclosure, Sammy Action, who has been on the show, and I were watching the game together. The game script basically said over time, this offensive line was going to just erode. And they did. Yep. And they did. I mean, what was it? 7, 8 sacks in the game on Burrows, numerous pressures.
Could have been 12.
And realistically, I mean, without the 75-yard T. Higgins touchdown pass with the questionable face mask call that didn't get called on T. Higgins. LA dominated them defensively.
I agree.
Dominated them defensively.
I agree.
I mean, you got a trick play and a 75-yard touchdown pass. That's what Cincinnati was.
This guy I was watching the Super Bowl with, he told me when the Bengals went for it early on 4th down, he was like, "Oh, they're scared of him. They're scared of him." They knew the fact they went for, I believe it was their first, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, second drive, but it was one of their first 2 drives. Zach Taylor goes for it.
I believe it was the first drive of the game.
That was terrible. I knew right then. And that's why when it was like 20-16, I promise you, I was not sweating that game. I knew I was just waiting for the time when they were just going to go down there and just score.
It did feel like ultimately, if you're given chance after chance after chance after chance, but you know what? Shout out to the Bengals defense, because when the Bengals offense was doing nothing, they were keeping Stafford and the Rams at bay. And like I said, full disclosure, and maybe I jumped the gun a little bit. We were having a conversation at the table, and we're talking about, McVay, 2 Super Bowls. I understand the first one was with Jared Goff, but generally the same kind of makeup of team. And all you can get is 19 points in 2 Super Bowls. It was
bad.
It was starting to look that way. And even still, I mean, I'm not super impressed with LA's offense and what they did. They did just enough to get by. But, I mean, LA's defense was incredible and gave LA's offense the chance to run up this score on them, and they didn't take advantage of it. And I know it's the Super Bowl, yada, yada, this, but the Rams on paper and really even on that field were clearly the better team, and they just didn't take enough advantage of it. It just felt like the last possession is really – I still felt confident in the last possession they were going to win, but of course, unfortunately for me as a bettor, it's that extra point that's really just thorn in my side.
Yeah. Johnny Hecker. So Cooper Kupp did win the Super Bowl MVP. Aaron, this might be one of the best wide receiver seasons ever, if it's not already. This guy, they're talking about him retiring too. I think people should just shut up with it. I believe Aaron Donald will retire. Full disclosure, I do believe that. But Cooper Kupp, wow, what a season.
Yeah, I didn't see the Aaron Donald retirement talk in the moment. I heard it because I heard it. I'm like, no way, Aaron Donald's not retiring. I mean, I get it. He wanted the ring so bad, but he's just has so much more in the tank. But again, these guys make so much money over the course of their careers. They don't have to play for 15, 20 years like Tom Brady. But as far as Cooper Kupp, it was an MVP type performance in a game where there wasn't a true standout. I think if Stafford throws one less interception or Skowronek catches that ball to open the second half, I think Stafford's MVP.
I did too.
But
I thought Van Jefferson should have
incredible.
fought for the other interception.
Oh, yeah, the one in the end zone. I was like,
man, what is he doing here?
I mean, that wasn't a great throw. I'm not letting Matt Stafford off the hook for that one.
I agree.
But you're right. Van Jefferson made no effort to play any kind of defense on that play.
Right.
And the Skowronek tip, that I can't put on.
That was a bad throw too, though. But
it hit him in the forearm, didn't it?
That's true.
I thought it hit him in the forearm, not the hands. Like, if it's in the forearm, you're clearly close enough to make the catch there. But Cooper Kupp. I mean, I think that last drive really is what sealed it for him.
The fourth down run was ballsy, but I loved it.
Oh, I did love that one too. It just seemed like you put 2 guys on him, you put 3 guys on him. It didn't matter. He was going to get his. And I mean, in a season or in a game that didn't have any true, real defensive standouts, the quarterbacks weren't fantastic. I'm happy to see Cooper Kupp. I believe he was like 5 or 6 to 1 at the start of the game to win it. And there was one person that put like $30K on him to win. So good for them.
That's fair enough. They better be happy about that last drive, pal.
That's what it was.
4 for 17.
Yeah, he was 4 for 50 with a touchdown until that last drive, I think. So there it is.
I hit like a bunch of overs on him as well, like over 28.5 longest reception. That was easy. Yeah. Let's get to Joe Burrow and OBJ, their injuries, but I thought I'm so glad Odell Beckham Jr. had a touchdown before he got hurt.
That was awesome.
That was nice because once he got hurt, I was like, dang, you knew non-contact that might be bad.
Correct.
Even Burrow's injury on the outside of the knee was just kind of awful too. Like the next drive for the Bengals, they had like 7 offensive plays and like 6 of them were runs.
I don't know how many. I don't know how many draft picks the Bengals have this year, but they need to all be offensive line.
Yeah, and somebody made a good point that maybe the Rams were just that good, but I'm sorry, Bengals had held up the previous 2 games.
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't just the Rams. It was the Titans got him, and the Chiefs got him, and it wasn't. He got sacked 51 times in the regular season. That's over 3 sacks a game. Like it wasn't like this was just some one-off like the Pat Mahomes game where his offensive line just went AWOL in the middle of the Super Bowl last year. Like this was an all-year thing, so it wasn't like we were unsuspecting to it. And like I said, the game script played that way with Aaron Donald. Over time, you knew he was going to get his. I think he got 2 sacks. The last one should have been the 3rd sack. He was just in the backfield. The play on Burrow you're talking about. The injury, I mean, obviously he's got 7 months to figure it out, whatever that injury might be. As far as OBJ, I hate saying this, but thanks for getting injured. So my under 67.5 prop bet that I bet came through. I mean, it's a gross way. It looked dead to rights. It looked dead to rights in the first quarter because he opened up the game as the go-to a little bit there. And I wonder how much he mattered to the stalling of this offense because Skowronek looked bad. Hopkins.
Higbee was out, right?
Higbee was out. Hopkins looked like he came in and provided a little bit. I think he had 3 or 4 catches for like 50 yards. Kendall Blanton went AWOL after that big game against the 49ers.
Henderson looked like he couldn't catch a wheel route.
They had to resort to Philly specials on 3rd down over to Matt Stafford's head. So maybe OBJ really had a tremendous impact on this team, and maybe that's why they stalled. I'm still not like letting them off the hook for the 3rd and most of the 4th quarters here, but yeah, I just like I said, I think that the Rams overall were the better team, and the better team won, even if they didn't cover.
Poor Aaron. We got some more things to do here. Right. Just final thoughts. I know tomorrow I want to talk a little more about like if teams should go all in like the Rams did, or if they should just try to build a dynasty. But we mentioned about the Bengals O-line, and you mentioned all week about Penei Sewell versus Jamar Chase.
Right.
This is tough. Do you think in this game, the way it played out, you think Penei Sewell would have perhaps contributed to at least an overtime here?
So, I mean, it's hard to think that one lineman would have made up for the other 4 linemen. Right. But I feel like what Jamar Chase gave you now, how much of it was him being taken out of the game by the Rams defense, I don't know. I mean, because you obviously can see that Ramsey didn't shadow Jamar Chase the whole game. But at the same time, Ramsey was on him a little bit, and it seemed like I think he only got like 4 catches, 55 yards, something like that. So could another receiver have gotten you that? Absolutely. I mean, Tyler Boyd could have gotten you 4 catches, 55 yards.
He dropped a bad one too.
I think that was his first drop of the year too, by the way.
That was terrible.
Yeah, it was a bad drop. It would have been a first down. Could have changed a lot of the outcome of the game here, but those kind of things happen, Ultimately, long term, like we talked about, it's probably going to be Penei Sewell should have been the pick to keep Joe Burrow upright, but I don't know. They got to figure out something with that offensive line. And if they've got to pay somebody because they got a lot of cap space to come protect the blind side, and if they've got to spend all their draft picks, they could still be a force in the AFC North. I understand the AFC North's tough. The AFC North has Lamar Jackson. Whatever we get out of the Browns and Steelers quarterbacks, if it's Baker next year with the Browns, they should be a better team. Like you're in a division that's going to be, not going to be given to you every year. Not going to be injuries. Better. Yeah, you would think it's going to get better. And I think you have to go the route that keeps your quarterback upright. So ultimately, I can't say that like it was a disaster, but 7 sacks, 8 sacks, it sure looks like the offensive line and maybe drafting Penei Sewell would have been the better option. But that's neither here nor there at this point.
I want to give a huge shout out to the Bengals defense. I know you mentioned in the last segment. I still believe that they played it out of their minds. Like Absolutely. The fact that Cam Akers, I felt like did not have a first down until the final drive.
Well,
I mean, it
the
felt like
Rams didn't have it. Like the Rams, I don't think had a single first down until the second to last drive or that last drive in the second half.
right. So
It was
like, I mean,
incredible.
they were doing their part, and I tweeted it out multiple times. This game was going to be won in the trenches. Aaron, I told you on Friday, I've seen too many Super Bowls in my humble young career. Just guys getting punked at the line of scrimmage. Joe Burrow, he missed a couple passes, but he was not terrible.
Mhm.
But people putting the faith in one quarterback is why things like Giants happen twice and why Joe Burrow gets sacked 7 times. Like Skip Bayless, who's been watching the NFL for years and years and decades, said, "Oh, the magic of Joe Burrow was the reason he said they were going to win." That's not how the NFL works.
Well, if they would have won, that would have probably been it. Yes, the magic to
Which
Joe.
is true. But like you said, Aaron, in the last segment, I think you were right. The Rams were clearly the better team. They just weren't playing like it. But there were times when you were like, okay, this team's just better.
Yeah, I mean to be fully candid, the Bengals, if they would have held on or scored again at the last drive, it would have been a situation where they won by magic. That's a good way to put it.
Cinderella,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, the better team got punked, and that would have been the Rams. I mean, the defense played out of their minds. The offense did just enough to get by, and at 20-16, going into the fourth, it did look like there's a chance that that could have been the final score. I mean, it literally looked like that could have been the final score. They were trading punts, trading 3-and-outs, trading drops, trading bad trick plays. It just wasn't working out for these teams, and we looked at it, and it just ultimately the talent came through at the clutch time. But there was a chance the magic could have happened, especially at 2016, midway through the fourth. I mean, it legitimately, when the Rams got the ball back with 6 minutes left, I really believed, and the people we were around, some of them said, you're gonna have two possessions at this. I said, I think this is the last possession for them.
Right, I
I
did
think I
too.
think they're going to try everything they can do to make sure Cincinnati doesn't get the ball back or they get it back with virtually no time left because they didn't want that magic to happen on them again. I don't want to give this ball back to Joe Burrow. Yes, we've sacked him 7 times, but all it
But we
takes
don't know.
knock down 7, get up 8, and he beats us. So it's just insane.
Here's what made me mad on that final drive. The final place to the end zone. They had like a minute 40 left, and they're like, "You're not going to try any runs there until the quarterback sneak." Like, yeah, you got flags upon flags, but that you could have given the ball back to them with like a minute 30 with all three of their timeouts. I mean, and they just that's how that was about to look without those penalties happening. The
I
Bengals self imploded in the red zone defense
Yeah, well, not only that, I mean, I thought that holding call was a little suspect. I
because
really
they're the
did.
one on Ramsey was not called earlier.
Right, and they had been relatively silent with the whistles. I
Yeah, that
was
was weird.
mostly okay with that,
I was too. I loved it.
but I think two things happened, and if I can put myself in the mind of Sean McVay here, we haven't had any success in the second half. None. I don't care if we put it. I don't care if we put the ball in the end zone with 3 minutes left, or we put the ball in the end zone with 3 seconds left. We need to put the ball in the end zone. We need
Right.
to take the lead
That's fair.
because I trust my defense that no matter how
Yes.
much time is left, they will give up nothing more than a field goal.
That's fair.
And if we got to take this to overtime, we have the confidence. We have the home field advantage. We should win this game. We're the better team.
Ed McPherson wanted that field goal so bad. You have to imagine.
I'm sure. I'm
He
sure 100% he
wanted
would
that
want that.
so bad because he had
He.
tied Adam Vinatieri.
Mhm.
That was insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's a spot where I think Sean McVay says we have to punch this in because we haven't done diddly in the second half. Like this just can't be one of those run the clock, get
Just when
stopped
they
at the
couldn't
half
run.
yard line because we won't. Yeah, they couldn't run the ball because we'll get this ball in here in one of these 4 tries and we'll try to piss away 45 seconds. Like no, they're like get in the end
Yes.
zone. This defense is incredible right now. Aaron Donald can't be stopped. The other two on the outside were all over him. We'll get the ball in the end zone and we'll play defense at home. That's the situation that I think Sean McVay, if I'm putting myself in his mind, that's where
Big
I'm at
mind.
with that. Yeah.
All right.